we are aware of the need for all this maintenance, providing water, providing electricity. And I can assure you that there are adequate provisions in the budget to tackle all these things. School furniture, yes, we didn't do too well last year, I concede. But there are programs now, the provisions, the purchase of additional furniture for classroom is well advanced. And these are areas that will be tackled in the first quarter of this year. The equipment, as you are aware, we've spent over 150 million in the last 2 years in purchasing, science and technical workshop equipment for our schools. Okay, the technical workshop equipment is about 150. The science equipment is spent about 20 million last year. And I'm sure we have the intention to spend even more this year because we believe that a lot more is still required to be done in the course of the year for this. So I can assure you, that we are going to move very well in this area. The Introtech equipment, like you said, we are equally aware that there is need for these installations of this equipment. The program for provisions of those workshops, I think basically is the issue of not having the workshops. Again, we are addressing this. Again, these are areas that we probably award contracts within the next, I would say, certainly in the first quarter of this year. All these things, they are all lined up. There are things we've done all the preliminary works, which we'll have to cover in the course of the first quarter of this year. Part of the problem we had in the past was not having the teachers, not having sufficient teachers for the Introtech. Now we've employed, the chairman is here, we've employed quite a few Introtech teachers, and the problem is basically the construction of those buildings and their installation. We'll address all those in the first quarter. Well, the books, we thought the bulk purchase system being operated by bulk purchasing corporation was working well. We noted the areas of the problem as we mentioned, and your suggestion about providing subsidy, for the sales of books, we carry it home, as it were. We will mention this to government. Whatever we can do in this regard, we will do it. Personally, particularly in areas of probably reorganizing the purchasing system, the bulk purchasing system, somehow perhaps to see how we can relate it to, providing subsidy as we mentioned. We'll carry this home and see what we can do. I think basically those are the areas. As we mentioned chemicals for the science laboratories and so on. The way we provide for this is on a monthly basis. It's part of the monthly allocations which we give to our institutions, both secondary and primary. Now, the local government, I believe, they will continue with providing the primary school with what we call monthly running, with the cost of running the institutions on a monthly basis, the running expenses. We do the same thing for our secondary school. I'm sure you're aware of that, where government provide money on a monthly basis for running those schools. The money is given to the principals in charge of those schools, directly by government. So there's supposed to not to be any delay in the process, so that they can have this money directly, like all the ministries do. We have our money directly for running the schools. And one element of the totality of the money we provide is for purchasing of laboratory chemicals, reagents, and so on, which is done on a monthly basis. But I don't know the exact, I can't give the exact figure. Again, it differs from school to school depending on their size. But I believe we provided sufficient money to cover this area. Last year, for example, we doubled the provision last year, 1990, vis-a-vis 1989. And I'm sure this year, by the time we estimate, the movement of prices in the market, we'll be able to provide what we consider to be adequate, for all these running expenses on a regular basis. Thank you, sir. 2,000.
Okay.
Secondary school,
350.
To implement the minimum wage and another federal government.
Yes.
Now I want to know how your budget estimate has taken care of this, and how much the state intends to spend on
additional cost. Yes.
As announced by the budget. Then my second question is the provision of electricity buses. You mentioned 20 of them. So I want to know how much it will cost the state government to refurbish these buses.
Of the governor's speech, you will find there that we said that we provided a total of 81 million for the additional cost of the minimum wage for the state. And if we include the provision for local government, it costs the state additional 92 million naira. So it's, the provision for the additional cost of the minimum wage is already built into the budget. Okay. As for the buses, you mentioned buses. Well, it's very difficult to predict how much it might cost to refurbish buses with the way things are in Nigeria. If you own a car, you know what I mean. Last year, for example, we spent 20 million. To purchase new vehicles for LSTC. And we provided additional 2.5 million naira for the purchase of spare parts to be able to rehabilitate some of these vehicles. What we are saying is that in 1991 we will continue to provide funds to enable LSTC to be able to rehabilitate these vehicles. I can't tell you because, just how many buses, what will be the price of those spare parts tomorrow? And most of these spare parts are imported. They are brought from, most of those buses are Mercedes chassis-based vehicles. So most of the spare parts are brought from West Germany. So that it's very difficult for anybody to be able to be exact on what they will cost. So all one can say in general terms is that the government appreciates the importance of putting more buses on the road on a daily basis. We said in the budget that minimum of 300 LSTC buses on a daily basis. And our effort will be not only to sustain that level of coverage on a daily basis, but equally to provide sufficient funds to buy spare parts to rehabilitate additional vehicles. I prefer to say that rather than give you any exact figure as to the cost. Thank you.
That officers on grade level 01 to 06, then 07 to 08 are the only beneficiaries of the minimum wage. So we should let members of the public know that it is not a general salary review. Thank you.
The government is going to adopt the self-assessment method in the collection of taxes. If the state government, the self-assessment method.
Self-assessment?
Yes, introduced by the federal government.
Yes.
If it is, I want to know how the state government is going to check evaders. Considering the fact that, from my own assessment, I believe the self-employed and the work tax evaders. I want to know how you're going to check evasion of taxes. Apart from that, I want to know how much you're going to spend on roads. Sorry, we don't have copies of your address here. Right. I want to know how many kilometers of roads you intend to construct this year. And the areas that are cited.
First question, the issue of how to check tax evaders, particularly areas of self-assessment. The chairman of the Board of Internal Revenue, Alhaji Rabi. Okay, the chairman was here this morning. I'm told he's gone. Well, honestly, self-assessment, or we call it direct assessment sometimes. These are people who are basically self-employed, like Elijah's group and so on. And it is not easy to be able to assess their annual incomes, and therefore to ensure that they pay, their entitlement, what they should pay in taxes. But I can assure you that the Ministry of Finance, and particularly the Board of Internal Revenue, is doing its best to tackle this issue. They monitor those people very well. They find out as much as possible from independent sources how much they are worth, rather than what they come forward and tell them they are worth. They use independent means to ensure that when these people are assessed, they will be assessed relatively to what, in the opinion of the board, those people are really worth. I believe also that we've put in place now a new Revenue Advisory Council, and this area of how to tackle the avoidance of paying sufficient tax by self-assessment, what might call segment of society. I'm sure they will be addressing this issue. They're already working on it. They'll be addressing this issue in the course of the year. I would like to leave it that way. Now, as to you asking questions about roads. Roads is one of our major spenders in the States. We've done a lot in the last couple of years, as you know. The Director General, Minister of Works and Transport is here. I'm sure he'll be able to give you, answer the questions.
From 1991, so far, the provision of 123 million for football in general, and you are asking for the economic regulation problem. Presently, we have ongoing projects which are still over from last year to this year, and also this will be in the whole of about 100 million. But the major ones are mentioned to you now, and the company does not see. And we are required that we do the Cotton Road, the Natamboka Road, the realization of Gateway, the Road, Alapuko Road, the Alapako Road, and Bokota and Bodo Road, Alabama, Mini Road, and the Oluwera Road Complex.
What